History books often paint pre-Islamic Arabia as a land of trade routes and tribal politics. But they tend to gloss over the shadows. They skip past the Jahiliyyah, the age of ignorance, a time when the desert was a terrifying reality, where the veil between our world and the unseen was paper thin. In this unforgiving landscape, the night did not belong to men, it belonged to the Jinn. To be cast out from your tribe was a fate worse than death. You were left to the sand and the things that haunted it. Yet, a rare few didn't just survive this exile, they evolved. They became the Sa'alik, the desert outlaws, men who turned their backs on society and embraced the wilderness. And among them was a figure whose documented abilities are so profound they force us to question the very limits of human biology. Ta'abbata Sharran. His birth name was Thabit, but that's not the name history remembers. He is known by a title, a sentence that became his name, Ta'abbata Sharran, which translates to, he who has carried evil under his armpit. Now, some modern interpretations will tell you this was just a metaphor, that he carried a sack of vipers to scare his enemies. But the oldest, most persistent accounts, the ones passed down through oral tradition, insist that the evil he carried was not a snake. It was the remains of a creature not of this world. These specific, unwavering accounts give us the potential record of a man who was perhaps not entirely human, a man who might just be the first documented case of a hybrid entity. The central pillar of Ta'abbata Sharran's legend is his physical, documented encounter with the Ghul. In the context of his era, the Ghul wasn't a fairy tale or a boogeyman. It was a tangible, predatory entity that hunted humans in the deep desert. It was a known threat. In his own poetry, which has survived for over 1,000 years, Sharran doesn't speak in metaphors, he gives a field report. He describes tracking this creature through the obsidian blackness of a desert night. He details its appearance, the face of a cat, a split tongue, and a twisted, unnatural form. An ordinary warrior, even the bravest, would have frozen in terror. But Sharran was not an ordinary warrior. He didn't run, he attacked. The details of this fight are what set it apart. They suggest a knowledge of the enemy that goes far beyond simple bravery. The old accounts state that this specific type of entity, the Ghul, could only be defeated by a single decisive blow. A second strike, no matter how powerful, would allow it to instantly recover and heal. Ta'abbata Sharran struck once. The creature fell. As it lay dying, it reportedly begged him, screamed at him to strike it again, to finish it. He refused. His reply was recorded as a statement of fact. Her ill luck satisfied her with the first. He then spent the rest of the night using its body as a pillow, resting upon its remains before taking the head as a trophy. The very trophy that would earn him his name. This is not the behavior of a man fighting a hallucination. This is the calculated action of an apex predator asserting its dominance over a rival. But the argument that Ta'abbata Sharran was something more than human goes beyond this single, incredible battle. It's rooted in the physical anomalies that his own peers, other hardened outlaws, ascribed to him. These were traits that defy standard human physiology. The Sa'alik were known as the runners for their incredible endurance, but even among them, Sharran was an anomaly. Eyewitnesses claimed he could run down gazelles and antelopes on foot. He possessed a level of stamina and speed that made horses obsolete in the rough, rocky terrain of the Hijaz mountains. He was faster and had more endurance than any animal they could pit against him. In his own verse, he describes his body not as flesh and blood, but as something different. He says it was hardened and lean like the blade of a sword, stripped of all human softness, forged in the harshness of the desert. Beyond his speed, he possessed an inexplicable, almost supernatural form of night vision. He navigated the featureless dunes and treacherous canyons in absolute pitch-black darkness, without a torch, without moonlight. He could see every rock, every dip in the sand, avoiding hazards with ease, while other men were completely blind, seeing only a void. This wasn't just good eyesight. This was a fundamentally different way of perceiving the world. Perhaps the most compelling suggestion of his unique lineage, however, comes from the records of his birth. There are ancient verses preserved from that era that describe his conception. His mother speaks of a frightful night, implying the union was unwilling. She describes the child born from that union as having a wild heart and eyes that glowed like lightning in a rain cloud. If we don't dismiss this as mere poetry, if we read it as a literal record, it points to a conclusion that is both terrifying and fascinating. It suggests his sire was not a man from her tribe. It suggests his father was something else entirely. When you piece it all together, the inhuman speed, the night vision, the innate knowledge of how to kill a supernatural predator, and the strange circumstances of his birth, a chilling picture begins to form. Ta'abat Sharan represents something ancient and primal. He was a warrior who didn't just reject society. He seemed to have more in common with the unseen world than the world of men. He didn't fear the creatures of the dark because, on some deep, instinctual level, he might have recognized them as his own kind. Even his death reinforces this otherworldly connection. After he finally passed away, his body was laid to rest in a valley known as Al-Rahman. For centuries after his death, Bedouins and travelers refused to enter that valley. They claimed his spirit was too restless, too powerful to be near, that his presence lingered in the very rocks and sand. We look back at these accounts today through a modern lens, trying to rationalize them, to categorize them as myth or folklore. But the people of that era, the ones who saw him and ran with him, believed them to be absolute reality. Ta'abat Sharan walked a line that few have ever dared to cross, surviving in a world of shadows by becoming a shadow himself. Was he simply a man who, through sheer will and hardship, touched the world of the jinn? Or was he a being born of it, a true hybrid walking among mortals? His story remains one of the strangest and most compelling chapters in the forgotten history of the desert. We recount these legends because they often spring from a seed of truth. But as for the unseen reality of his true nature, only Allah knows best. Thanks for watching.